Welcome to Start of Play Football. Hope everyone's doing well. Before we get into today's content, please go and subscribe to the channel and make sure you like this video as well. If you come across the video, just give it a little thumbs up. Click subscribe. As you can see, if you haven't already, the subscribe numbers are very low, so make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also let me know your thoughts in the comments as well about what we're going to be discussing. And of course, the announcement has been made. England's 23-man squad. Gareth Southgate may have blood on his hands after this video is done, but we are going to get into all of that now. It was always going to be tricky who we didn't take and who we did take to the World Cup. There were some key players, some informed players, some players that will just go by default, which we know, Gareth Southgate has a couple of his faves that are always going to go regardless of form, regardless of injuries, etc, etc. So I wasn't expecting much in terms of shocks or changes or additions that we might not think would make the squad. There were a few that was a bit has raised a few eyebrows with me, and I think, as I said, we're going to get into them right now, but let's try and go through the whole squad all together. I think got it right here. So we've got Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale as the goalkeepers. Now I can't really have any complaints about that one. I think Dean Henderson's the only one that would potentially have been in the mix with those three as well, based on how Dean Henderson's played, and obviously one of those goalkeepers is always going to miss out, whether it's one of the three that's going or Henderson. But I think Gareth Southgate has picked the best three goalkeepers that we do have in the country. You'd expect Jordan Pickford to potentially be number one, but there is a question to say that Aaron Ramsdale should be starting ahead of Jordan Pickford now, because Ramsdale's gone to Arsenal, he's done really well. I'm not sure how many goals Arsenal have conceded, but they're top of the league. So yes, they're scoring goals, but they're clearly not conceding that many in terms of where they are in a league position at the moment. So I think Aaron Ramsdale has a massive shout to start ahead of Jordan Pickford. The only downside which really has annoyed me, and I do think this is something that might come back to haunt us, a lot of these games where we knew that certain players were playing in the Nations League, or they were playing in friendlies. We knew they weren't going to be involved in this World Cup squad. We've had 4 years to prepare for this. We've had 2 years, obviously, off the back of the Euros, but players were playing in those England games, the friendlies and the Nations League, knowing they weren't going to the World Cup. So I think I would have liked to have seen Ramsdale play a lot more in those international games ahead of this World Cup, just to get a feel or test. I mean, competitive, club football is completely different to the international stage, and I think we should have gave Ramsdale maybe that opportunity during the Nations League as well, a lot more to become maybe England's number one goalkeeper, if that is even a thing anymore. But I do think Ramsdale should start over Jordan Pickford, in my opinion. Now let's get on to the defenders, because as we know, Gareth Southgate loves to take as many defenders as he can, especially right backs, although he can't take Reece James, who's missed out due to injury, but he has taken a hell of a lot of defenders. So my guess is he's going to be playing a back five in the World Cup against Iran, which, do you really need to against Iran? I don't know. And against USA, Wales, you could probably get away with a back four, maybe three midfield, three up front, but I'm pretty sure Gareth Southgate would potentially go for five at the back. So he's gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Connor Cody, that's the big question mark already for me. Eric Dyer, another question mark for me. Harry Maguire was always going to go, and to give Harry Maguire his credit as well, he actually does play well for England. He's a very solid centre back. A massive question will be, who does he partner up with? More than likely it's going to be Eric Dyer. I think at the last Euros, Connor Cody went and didn't actually kick a ball, so I think Connor Cody will be there to make up the numbers. Luke Shaw, John Stones, another big shout. It could be John Stones that partners Harry Maguire. Kieran Trippier, Carl Walker and Ben White. Now you do have to, Ben White maybe can take him out of the equation, but he has been playing right back for Arsenal this season. Kieran Trippier can play right side. Trent is obviously your favoured player to go, especially in a back five or even in a back four. Trent would be the one that would more than likely start. So you're already looking at three players that can play in that one position. Yes, you can potentially put Ben White as a centre back, but I think more than likely you'll see John Stones and maybe Harry Maguire take those positions. Luke Shaw maybe will get the left side. I think Kieran Trippier has played there, especially for England. I think if not in the Nations League, I think in the Euros he's played there as well. But I do have to say this, because Gareth Southgate, I said before, he might have blood on his hands. Here's why: because you've left out Tomori, who's one of the best players that we have in England right now. Yes, he's not in England. Yes, he's playing in Italy for AC Milan, but he's one of the best defenders we potentially would have at the World Cup. I just don't believe that. I can't believe we've left Tomori at home. Yes, he's ex-Chelsea, but I'm telling you from now, and this is where, and Gareth Southgate has admitted this as well, he doesn't watch, he hasn't watched Tammy Abraham, he hasn't watched Tomori as much as he should have. They only get data analysis from, their data and statisticians, and you just think to yourself, how are you not going to Italy to watch these players play week in, week out? Send someone else. Send one of your men to go and watch him. He's one of the best defenders. He's made the most tackles, I think, in Serie A. How are we leaving him behind? That is criminal. And the fact that Connor Cody's in that team ahead of him, the fact that Eric Dyer, who I still don't think is a centre-back, yes, he's played in there for Spurs, but he should be in midfield. The fact that those two are in that team ahead of Tomori tells me it's based on favoritism. It's not based on form. It can't be, because Tomori should be in that team. You could even argue the toss that Guehi should be in that team. Trevor Chalobah at a push should be even in the conversation. I understand Trevor Chalobah's not getting in there. He's obviously not had the best of starts to the season based on the form of Chelsea, but as an individual, as a defender, he's actually played relatively well when he's been asked to play. So a bit concerning that he's left key players, Tomori, behind. I think he should definitely be on the plane going to Qatar, but it is what it is. Gareth Southgate's made his mind up. He wants to leave him. Strange one for me. I think I'd have to take him. Now, midfielders, again, he hasn't really taken that many, which, again, goes back to the whole 5 at the back, 2 in midfield, 3 up front. I think that's what we're going to be going for when we get onto the attackers. But he's gone for Jude Bellingham, which was a given. Jordan Henderson, Mason Mount, Declan Rice. And these two I really can't believe are in the squad. And again, I'm coming from a Chelsea perspective. So Conor Gallagher has made the World Cup squad, which is a bit of a question mark because he's only played a handful of games for Chelsea. Yes, he played really well for Crystal Palace, but I don't think he'll be playing in that role for England. I think he'll be playing in a double pivot, which if you're a Chelsea fan, you know that is not going to work for England. And also Calvin Phillips, who's only started 1 Premier League game this season. He did come on last night for Manchester City against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. He did actually look relatively good, very fit, but he's still coming back from a big injury. So I'm a bit concerned that we're taking a player that, has not really played that much football this season, but somehow managed to get his way into the team. That worries me a little bit. I think he's there to, again, very much like, Eric Dyer, Connor Cody. I think they're there to make up the numbers, but he does feel like a wasted seat on the plane. I think that could have gone to someone else. But Calvin Phillips, not really my cup of tea. I wouldn't want to see him start in any of these 3 games, especially in the group stages, because, you do have that kind of additional confidence, I think, as an England player or England fan going into these tournaments. You look at the group, you see that Iran's in the group, USA and Wales, 3 games that we should win. There should not even be a doubt in anyone's mind that we can beat all of those teams. But you do think we might go into those games with the overconfidence of trying to beat Iran. USA are actually a decent team when you watch them. Yes, it's USA. We should beat them. They call it soccer. We should be beating them 100%. But I think we're going to overestimate them or underestimate them. Sorry, and I think that could happen against Wales as well. So it's not an all and end that we're going to walk out this group and it's going to be plain sailing. I think Southgate has really thrown a lot into his attackers, which we're going to get onto now. And I think he should have maybe reserved one of those spaces and put someone else in midfield, on the plane, just as an option, and we've already seen as well with the way that the league's going at the moment, the amount of injuries that people are picking up before the World Cup. You're going to expect people to get, the turnover of games is going to be just as quick as the Premier League or, the Football League, Scottish League, wherever, European football. So you're going to expect a lot of injuries during this World Cup just because of where it's taking place. And by that, I don't mean the climate, I just mean the time in the calendar that it's taking place. You're going to pick up injuries. So, I would have had maybe another midfielder in there. I think that might come back to haunt us. You look at Phillips, he's not fully fit. You look at Jordan Henderson, sometimes he can pull up. He's had a couple of injuries this season for Liverpool. Conor Gallagher, I think would not be a starter for me for England. He's definitely a player you can bring on. I think, you know, Southgate said today that he's a player that likes to press. He likes to, you know, need some of that energy in midfield. And I've always said that, you know, he can do that. But further afield, if you're going to play him as almost as a 10, but in a double pivot, I mean, it doesn't work for Chelsea. You know, Jude Bellingham for me is, and Mason Mount, obviously the only two on there that for me. But I wouldn't even start Mason Mount. I wouldn't even start him in the team. I think he doesn't, not that he doesn't deserve to play, but the way that Southgate will use him, I don't think it's gonna work. So yeah, you look at Mason Mount, you look at Jude Bellingham, you can see why they've gone. Declan Rice, obviously you can see why he's gone. He's going to want to play out of his skin and get the move, hopefully away from West Ham, if that's what he wants to do and West Ham are willing to sell. But let's move on to the forwards, because he's heavily stacked in the forwards area as well. You look at Phil Foden, you look at Jack Grealish, Harry Kane, James Maddison, who I'm really, really happy is going to this tournament. He's played so well. The fact that there was even a question mark about whether he was even going to be in the team shows you the level of idiotic behaviour of some of these reporters, and even if Gareth Southgate was doubting him, I think this is one of those things that you just have to just shake your head at, because he should be on the plane 100%. Should be no questions asked. Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, Raheem Sterling and Callum Wilson are the final attackers that are going on the plane to Qatar. I'm happy with the attackers. I really am. I think the attackers are exactly what we need. I think it gives a lot of flair, gives a lot of options going forward as well. You would clearly expect Harry Kane to be the focal point at the start, the front of that attack, but it does give a lot of options. You know, Saka, Grealish, who I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest. You know, he doesn't really beat players. He cuts in a lot on his right foot. You know, very rarely takes, you know, anything. He doesn't really do much for me, and I think, if I'm honest, I think Saka playing in there, Raheem Sterling, who does play well for England as well, you think back to the Euros, but James Maddison, Phil Foden, there's options going forward, which is something that we haven't really had, bar last Euros. We haven't really had that in an England team, so I'm looking forward to the attack. The midfield does worry me, and the fact that we still have not got Tomori in this team is criminal to me. It's criminal. I can't believe that he's not in that team, but I do think we've got very good chances of definitely progressing out the group. I mean, like I said, it should almost be a given, but you could never, you know, rest on your laurels in terms of, you know, how Iran might turn up. USA and Wales will turn up as well, but I'm expecting some good stuff from this World Cup. I think even just away from England, I think, you know, some of the other nations and the squads that they picked as well, this should be a really good World Cup if we can get and keep everyone injury free throughout of it as well. I think this is going to be a really good World Cup. One of the things that I will be doing throughout the World Cup is doing a lot of watch alongs, hopefully, time permitted as well. That's a difficult one for me due to other commitments outside of the channel, but we will definitely be doing previews and match reviews as well throughout the tournament. So make sure, as I said before, you hit that notification bell, you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you interact as well, because again, that helps a lot with the algorithms as well. This has been T-Dot. Until next time, thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts about the England squad in the comments as well. Who would you have taken? Who would you remove out the current squad that's in there now? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, and as I said, keep that notification bell on, because there'll be a lot more videos coming over the next couple of weeks or so. Thanks for watching.